I want to play a little bit of this interview that Scott Bessent did. What is he, the Treasury? I don't know why the Treasury Secretary is talking about this. I can assume it's to try to undermine any kind of funding for, nonprofits and foundations and things like this. But this is Bessent saying openly that Charlie Kirk's murder, even though which was immediately pinned on the broader left and everybody on, left of, I don't know, left of John McCain, that this is their 9/11. And I want to get your reaction, as someone who has worked with communities that have been specifically targeted in the wake of things like 9/11, like the Muslim American community. I mean, even I myself as an anti-war activist, I mean, there are a lot of people who, the FBI's got a file on the raging grannies, who like are senior citizens that sing songs at demonstrations. But here we go.
I will tell you that Charlie's death is like a domestic 9/11, that we are going to find. It has alerted us to what Charlie knew, that these organizations are working within our borders. And look, we believe people have a right to free speech. They have a right to organize. They have a right to protest, but they have to do it peacefully. They cannot embrace violence, and we have seen it. We've seen it since the terrible day 2 years ago, the anti-Semitism and the bias that came out after October 7th.
So he names it right there, what we just talked about. Palestine is the pretext, but then we keep going.
2023, and many of these organizations have been financed by nonprofits, and it's going to stop. And we are going to, as they always say, follow the money. When you see these groups where all the signs match, they have hundreds of the same umbrellas that they're using. After they cause the mayhem, they have the same lasers that they're using to blind our police force.
Wait, I can't deal with any more of this. But my favorite part about, there's this argument that like all the demonstrators have the same sign, and it's like, yeah, man, I don't know. Talk to the Answer Coalition about the fact that their signs are all the same. But as someone who's like, yeah, the signs are kind of boring and they're all the same. But that's Scott Bessent saying, and specifically, we're going to go after the foundations and the nonprofits that, as you mentioned earlier, could mount any kind of, basically are progressive and could mount any kind of resistance to the current regime and the rollout that they are, the thugs they're releasing onto the streets, and on and on and on. The ways that they've already defunded so many nonprofits vis-a-vis defunding federal programs for a lot of these nonprofits that do such critical work. Give me a reaction to that, and him calling, the post Charlie Kirk moment another post 9/11 moment. Maybe specifically on the nonprofit side.
Yeah, I mean, I always find it curious when these people who are nowhere near New York on 9/11 talk about 9/11 and drape themselves in the flag. I mean, I was here. New York City is my home. I don't even know what he's talking about when he says a domestic 9/11. I'm pretty sure the original was a domestic 9/11. So anyway, like all of that isn't even worth commentary. Frankly, it's laughable. It's just sort of like this paper tiger. They have these imaginary boogeymen that they're using their time and power to go after. With the nonprofits, I think it's part of a larger strategy, right? I mean, this administration, or this edition of the Trump administration 2.0, they use the sort of interregnum of the Biden administration to prepare, for their return to power. And so, they're much more effective and organized and cohesive this time around than they were, back in 2016. And the strategy seems to be to systematically attack any site of potential resistance or challenge to the Biden administration, sorry, to the Trump administration's policies and ideas. And so, whether that's the universities, where of course, universities in American history have been sites of contestation and challenge to power, whether it's the sort of nonprofit sector that supports an ecosystem of organizations, legal organizations, civil society organizations that might also challenge what this administration is trying to do, or whether it's the media in the different ways that we've seen, and attacks on the mainstream media on the one hand, sort of suing, CBS for like the rushes of their 60 Minutes interview with
Yeah.
Kamala Harris,
Yep.
all the way to like favoring certain corporate acquisition strategies that will concentrate, sort of create a chokehold on the flow of information in this country, at least through the mainstream media. I mean, all of these are part of a single, cohesive strategy to gradually try to choke out sites of contestation and challenge to the administration. The good news is that this administration has not been infallible.
Hmm.
They have had their setbacks. They have had their losses in the sort of first year that they've been in power, and so a lot of this is very much still in play. And the strategy is transparent, and even the tools and tactics are not novel. In our work at Clear, we've worked with, again, clients, communities, and movements in the crosshairs of the U.S. security state for the better part of the last 2 decades. And that means we and those communities that we work with, that are mostly Black and or Muslim and or immigrant identified, have a lot of experience with these tactics. We already know that playbook. We know how to respond. And so I guess the counterpoint to the point I was making earlier, that they have come into this moment much more prepared than they were in 2016. I think there's a version of that that's true for, for lack of a better term, the American left. I think the American left is also, like, the ecosystem of civil society groups and other organizations is also better prepared than it was in 2016.
Oh yeah, absolutely. I mean, especially because we can go back to, obviously like COINTELPRO, or we can go
Mhm.
back to Japanese internment. There's ways to go farther and farther back in American history. But yes, in the last, 24 years or whatnot, since 9/11 and even the creation of DHS as a thing, it seems like, yeah, things have not, even from Democrats, there has not been the political ability to unwind and undo the amount of surveillance that the post 9/11 era gave rise to.
Right.
I just want to mention that it's very funny. Like, I just keep on making this connection because Scott Bessent used to work for George Soros, and of course George Soros is the billionaire boogeyman for the right because he happens to like not be the shitty billionaire. He donates to like very good causes, and he's through the Open Society Foundation. And so it's funny because Scott used to work with Soros when it was like came to investing, and then now he's going to go after like the Open Society Foundation. Just a fun little thing. He should probably investigate himself under that, rubric. What's going on, Frantifa? If you haven't already, subscribe to this channel right now. Hit that button. And also, you can become a patron and support the show every single week. Get access to bonus episodes and exclusive merchandise. Patreon.com/bitchuation room. Do